Alrighty, I'm gonna voice over this one because I don't want to edit in 1,000 pieces of text to explain what I'm doing. So this is gonna be much faster. Yay. Right, this one's gonna be about extracting model files from a game because I've been asked that a lot. So, this is how you do it. Also, I suggest using 1.7.1. For some reason, it just works better. I've tried other things. I guess if it works, but this one works better. Important thing to know, run as administrator, otherwise nothing's gonna happen. I've done this and it's annoying. Now, once you've got this open, this is where you're finding your app market exe. You insert it into this spot. This one should already do it automatically, and this one is where you want your output files to be. Now, once you've done that, you click run. Now, I've already done that and opened it up. I'll get back to you once the game's finished. Alright, now that we have the game opened up, there's this little button here for Safe House. Now, within this you'll find one called the Arsenal. This has every mythic and legendary skin available, which is kind of useful for our purposes. So, here, this is the newest one. Let's have a look at this one. This looks pretty cool. Ooh, that looks nice. Let's have a look at this. Alrighty, that looks pretty cool. Now, we have this open, and if you want to know, go down here, and this will tell you what keys you need to press. Now, what you want to do right now is press the 1 for force, because in my experience, all doesn't work, and F9 only gets you textures. So, I'm going to press F1, and my game is going to freeze. And there we go. We've got it. Sweet. Now this can be done for any of the other few mythics. Also to note, ever since the Switchblade X9 for mythic weapons, there has been the option to add like extra effects on the 3rd and 5th tiers. So just note, if you want those, you have to rip this version of it with this enabled. I actually kind of like that one. That one looks cool. Nice. Alright, well we've got the model. I would suggest getting as many models as you can. I would suggest getting as many models as you can, all in the short space of time. That way you can only have one file, or like folder, to deal with, instead of having many, which I can assure you is very annoying. But, now we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take a video of this. Screen record it. Do something to capture the video, because we'll be using this to animate later. Alright, I'll go do that now, and I'll get to you once we start looking at the models in Noesis. Now we've extracted our model files. They'll have been saved to whatever file path you chose in Ninja Ripper. Now I've saved them to this new clean folder. That way I don't get them mixed up easily. Now you'll see there's a folder for every process or relevant process that was running during the ripping process. Now, the only ones you want to be interested in are the Android emulator.exe files. My one is in this one here, and you'll open it up and you'll see there's another folder inside of it. None of the other ones will have it. Now, inside this folder is all your rip files. Great. Now, if you have a look, that's a lot of rip files. That's 1,456 to be exact. Now, that seems like a whole lot, but there is some useful ways to speed up the process. First off, I've heard that going from the bottom to top makes it easier. Doesn't really. You want to do your selection based on these file sizes. So the bigger file sizes most likely have a model that has more than one face. There will be random models that just they're nothing. The bigger ones, however, as you can see, that's something. So, prioritize having a looking at all of the larger file sizes first, as these are most likely to have models that you'll be interested in. Now, you'll see this is half a piece. Now, there's this lovely little button down here that turns off alpha shading, which means you'll see the whole piece even if it's got funny textures on it. I suggest not using these pieces. I suggest trying to find textured versions, as that will save your sanity, like this one. This will create much easier texturing process later on, as you'll see all the textures will load directly onto the models, which will be good. Now, what you want to do is you just want to go through, you want to double click on one, make sure it's selected in the deep blue, right click, export, make sure it's an FBX, browse, find out wherever you want to export this to. After I've done that, I'm going to put it into the new folder with the new file. We're going to open that and save it in there. Then you want to press export, it'll export the file. Whoop-de-doo. Super. Now, another important thing to do is... Alright, I'm back again. Now, an important thing to do is to name your files. Now, this looks like a grip or a stock. I'm going to guess this is the grip, so I'm going to name it grip and export it. Now, you want to do this for all the models that you can find that are textured or look like they belong as part of the gun. And once we've done that, we'll get back. Alrighty, I've deduced that there are no more parts, sadly. Unless you decide to come down here and find them all over again. Now, the same model will be ripped about 3-4 times. But we're done with the model since we've already got pretty much all of what it needs to be. Now, scroll all the way down until we get to the textures. The fun part. Now, you'll most likely get a whole bunch of screenshots, it appears. That's fine. Great for reference, because, you know, putting it together is going to be painful. You'll get every icon under the sun, and some lovely red images that I believe are depth maps, but you can barely see it in there. What we do now is we scroll through until we find one of these. This is a normal map, and it designates that it's a multi-channel texture. So this is what we want. Now this is going to be the color, definitely. So we're going to export it as a PNG file. You can export it as TGA, but with the PNG you can do some funny stuff. I'm going to show you later. Now we're going to stick it in the same thing, and we're going to call it texture 1. Color. We'll see for color, because it's the color texture. We're going to export that. Now, a very important thing is to always name your textures. Now, I've been sent a whole bunch where it's just like random texture, DDS file, texture 3, 4, 5. Now that's great, but you always want to label which one it is. Now these are the same texture. If you have a look at them, they're the same thing. This one's just the normal map. So what you want to do is you want to set this to PNG again. It's annoying, I know. I've still got to figure out how to permanently set it. What you want to do is you want to go as texture 1 still, but instead it's the normal map. So you're going to put N so that you know what it is. Then we come down again. Now, this is the material map. It's got funny colors. I'll explain what it is later. Again, PNG. Now this one's still texture 1, but we're going to call M for material map. And lastly, but not least, let's see. Yes, it has an emission map. Now the emission map is, you're going to guess, plug it into the emission. So it's going to be texture 1. Emission. You can name it directly if you want. I don't know why. I find it easier. This one easy. I actually know what this is because I looked at the model. This is the mag texture. So I know I'm going to set it to PNG and I'm going to call it mag color. This one's going to be mag normal. Whoops, that's man. Mag. Great. Now I'll skip through the rest of these because it's pretty self-explanatory. This one's going to be, you guessed it, mag M. Because it's material there. And let's see, do we have an emission? We do. So it's going to be mag E, because it's the mag emission texture. Now I'm going to do the rest of these. I'll fast forward it. We'll see what happens when we get to the end. If you're wondering why I'm taking the painstaking effort of changing these all to PNG, I'm going to use a texture upscaler later to increase the resolution, because as you can see, that is not a high quality image right there. It's definitely a very crunchy image. But I'm going to use a free upscaler later to make it high quality and look good. But it does not work with TGA, which is the default file output for these. So if you're wondering why, that's why. Also, I bet you're thinking, this is a whole bunch of textures. The CX9 Mythic had 12. Not 12 textures, 12 sets. I'm at 5 right now. So that would have been about 60 textures I had to do this on. So be glad that there's probably not going to be that many on whatever gun or model you are extracting. Alrighty, now, this is the first of important images. This is an effects image. Now, I know you probably skip over this because, oh, it's not a texture. Well, that's right, it's not. It's an effect. Now, a lot of you are asking how I do all the funny animated textures and effects and glowing lights and stuff. Well, this is one of them. Now, this obviously is going to be a laser through the middle of the gun barrel. So we're going to take this as well. And we're going to call it FX1. In Blender, you'll be able to preview all of the images. This looks like another one. PNG. I'm going to call it FX2. I'm just going to keep going up in numbers until we have enough that we think we have. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. This is going to be a ring. Now, I know I could call it ring. Instead, I'm going to call it ring FX1. Because I know there's going to be more. There's some fire. This is also going to be FX3. And you keep doing this, taking all of the important or appearing to be important textures. Like, I could take that one. That would probably be a little much. Like all these. Anyway, I'm going to do that. I'll get back to you once it's finished. Whoa. What is this? This looks spicy. Okay, I'm going to guess that this is a reticle. I'm going to say that looks cool. That's a fire. Okay, now this is a colored image. Now, we're probably going to need at least 2 or 3 of these to make it look cool. So I'm going to go FX4. Make sure you get at least 1 or 2 of those, because you'll be able to use them with an emission mask I'll show you about later. I think I got those. I don't think I got that. Hey, these are particles. You can tell they're particles because there's lots of different things and they're all different variations, and they don't look like they could morph into each other. Now, you're probably wondering, what the hell is particles? Why? Well, I will show you how to put those on later. And yes, they do all use the exact same texture. You just have to set them up right. Now, I bet you've encountered this one before. This one's in every model gun, ever. I don't know what it does. It's always there. Alright, let's grab ourselves a reference image. And we are done. Now, I would suggest leaving this open in case you need to come back and have a look at other stuff. But now we're going to hop over to Blender and we're going to do magic. Okay, now we're inside of Blender. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you a tutorial on how to use Blender. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you actually know how to use it a bit at least competently. Understand all the ideas of how all this stuff works. Anyway, we're going to import our FBX files because that's what we export it as. Right, once you've found the file with all the FBX files in it, you want to select them all and click import. This will take a few seconds, but once they do, you'll see them pop up over here. Once they do, it will take a few seconds and Blender will freeze up for the duration of it happening, depending on how big the files are. But eventually they will import, and then what you want to do is you want to select them all and you want to scale them by a value of 1000. That will get it to a manageable scale. Now, something I've discovered through trial and error and knowing Blender is an amazing feature. Now, my shading, viewport shading, will look a little different from yours because I've set it to be custom and have funny shadows down here. But you'll notice they look strange. They aren't shaded right. This can quite be simple. You go to the data properties, geometry data, and you clear custom split normals data. And what will happen is it will resolve itself right before your very eyes. Oh, so nice and smooth. It's fixed. What is even better is Shift R is a shortcut that will repeat your action. So if you select this one and press Shift R, it'll do the exact same thing. And so you can just go around selecting everything and pressing Shift R. It'll just fix all your problems. Oh, so nice. Oh, one more. Alrighty. Now, if you have a look at this sphere here, you'll notice it's a little funny. That's because it's triangles. Now, that's not because it's triangles exactly, but it's because there's vertices that are layered perfectly over the top of each other. Now, there's a really easy way to fix this. You select everything. You tab into edit mode. Doesn't really matter which one. I like face because it's clean. The important thing to do is press M, and you merge by distance. And there'll be this little pop-up down the bottom that says 23,000 vertices removed. Now, that was every vertice that was too close to another vertice and would cause problems like that. So now if we go back to our sphere, it's nice and smooth. Now, personal preference, but you can also press Alt-J, which will untriangulate all your mesh and make it look so much nicer. Now, this can screw up the UV maps, so if you're having UV issues, try and import a version that doesn't. Now, it won't always work. It will cause some funny things occasionally, but that's the price I'm willing to pay to get nice clean geometry. Great, now comes the fun bit. We have to find our image that we exported. That's called the reference image. Now, I exported mine as reference, so if I can find it real quick, here we go. I'm just going to drag it straight into the viewport, and it will import as a reference. Amazing! Now, what I'm going to do is scale it up, move it over, rotate it. Great. Now we have this beautiful reference that we can use to put our gun together. Now, honestly, I can't teach you how to put the gun together. You're going to have to figure that out because every gun's different. But, useful things to note. If you go up here, there's a whole bunch of toggles. The viewport and the visibility are actually different. If you hide something and then unhide it when it's using this one, it will actually unhide this one. But if you use this one, it won't actually unhide. So if you want to permanently get rid of something, if you press Alt-H, it won't unhide now. This one's good because I'm not going to select this. I don't want to select this, so if I press A, it won't select that, and it won't screw with it. And that's selection, whether it can be. Now, I'm going to fast forward through piecing all the gun together because, honestly, this is going to take a while. Right, see you on the other side. Another thing to note, most of the time, and I'm saying most of the time, all the pieces will be at an incorrect angle of 90 degrees. So if you want to rotate it, and you don't know how far to rotate it, best bet, it's going to be 90. Negative or positive 90 degrees. Fun fact. I'm saying most of the time, at an incorrect angle of 90 degrees. Alrighty. Now, first thing, save it. I forgot what this is. I think it's called the BP something. I'll come and rename it later. But now we've assembled our gun. At least we tried to. It is in one piece. That's great. Oh, I missed one. Oh, please hold. Okay. Now, don't get disheartened if you ever find funny things like these, which you just have absolutely no clue where they go. That's a common occurrence. I've encountered my fair share of these. Probably the best thing I can recommend, I'm going to say that probably goes there. Yeah. No. Anyway, all I can say is look around, have a look. Sometimes it's good to boot up the actual model in-game and then have a look at it. But, yeah. Otherwise, good luck. Now we get on to the fun part. What we're going to do, we're going to permanently hide this bit because we don't need it yet. We're going to switch to the shading tab. Now your shading tab will probably look a little different to mine because I've customized mine and I suggest you would too. Now, I have become, or at least I have become very lucky in the fact that all these textures are attached. That's really good. Now, important thing that I've just noticed here, this one's set to non-color, and this one's set to sRGB. Now, you're supposed to set to non-color because it's much brighter, and you actually see things in it. sRGB can be good for the darker skins, and it's good for images that have transparency because it screws them up if they don't have sRGB. So if you're ever having like a funny transparent image, I'll probably put one up on screen right now to show you what the difference between an sRGB and a non-color is. It's always good to use the sRGB on these particular ones. Now back to here. Of course, we don't need this, and we only need the non-color. Now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this 4 times. Now we're going to have, you guessed it, color, material, emission, and normal. Now, I have a specific CodM shader that's used the add-on, which has a few more options than the other one. I can't vouch for the other one. I used it briefly and then switched to this one because this one is better. It's better, trust me. And, I don't know, more options. You don't get all of this stuff on the other one. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. We're going to go to the... Now this will open up the actual RIP files, which is great, but these are the wrong files. They're not those lovely PNGs that we were using before. So go to wherever that texture that you got was. Now this one here is... Okay. On that note, open up a new window here on the left. Strange. New window. Why? You can actually close it a little bit. But I want you to switch this to the image editor. Now, that looks great. Boring image. But if you click on the image, you'll actually see the texture. Instead of, having to click on it and having a look and trying to figure out which bits match which, you can just click on it and it will see. You'll actually see the actual texture. So we're going to have a look. This one looks like this. Great. Now, let's open up this. Open up that folder where we found all of our previous textures. Go up here. We can increase the size if you're blind like I am. We can scroll down. And there we go. It's texture 3. Great. I'm going to open up the color for texture 3. And I'm going to change it to non-color. Because for some reason that one was sRGB. Now, because we named everything like absolute chads, we know that down here we can just... Oops, that's the spectre. We can just click on that texture 3 normal. And if you have a look, lo and behold, if you preview it, it fits perfectly. Now, ironically, I've swapped these, so the normal should actually be all the way on the bottom. And I should have opened the material map first. If we go back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to duplicate this normal map. Why? Because when we go to change the texture on this one, it will now open up that file where we directly had that. So we already know that, so we can make this smaller again. And we know that texture 3 normal is going to fit perfectly on there. And then, of course, texture 3 emission. Great. Amazing. Beautiful. Now, you guess what? Material map goes into the material map, emission, if I can put it in, and the normal map. And now, when we click on this, oh, that's a spicy texture! And it looks good. It's got the normal map, because if you don't have the normal map, it looks absolute trash. It still kind of looks trash because we have low res, but we'll fix that soon. You'll see all these horrible bumps. That's part of the normal map also. Anyway, I'm going to switch this to the normal map because the normal map is easily viewable. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to click on this one. We're going to have a look at this. We're going to try and find any other texture that has that exact same texture to run it. Now, I don't think we will because it's very varied texture on this one. Sometimes different pieces can use the exact same texture. Like this one uses this particular texture. I bet you it's going to be the same as this small sun in here. Oh, proven wrong. Yay. Great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this. We're going to press all. Make sure one is at least selected, otherwise it won't work. We're going to copy it all. We're going to go over here, press A and delete. Now I'll just screw the material completely, but we're going to paste it in. Now, why I'm using the normal preview and the normal map, as you can see, is the normal map is very definitive, whereas the texture, sometimes not so much. So we're going to go and we're going to open up the mag texture. The mag normal, sorry. Because I already know what this one is. This is going to be the mag emission, the mag material, and the mag color. Do you now see the importance of naming everything? It's so good, isn't it? Also, the normal map will denote the fact that we've completed something. Now we're going to delete that, and we're going to paste it in. Now, this looks strange, doesn't it? Because we're using the normal map. We're using the wrong normal map. Let's have a look at this one. Nope, it's not that one. You'll just have to scroll through until you find the correct one, because it will become very apparent which is the correct one once you load it on. So we've noticed that that one is texture number 1. So we're going to scroll down. We're going to go texture number 1 emission, texture number 1 material, and texture number 1 color. Doesn't really matter what order you're doing. It's whatever works. Oh, look at this funny thing. Now this thing, see, this is the exact same texture that this one uses. If you can see. What? I'm confused now. There we go. See, that is the same texture. It's just slightly different. Now, what we can do is we can actually transfer this texture onto this object. So if we select both and make sure that this original one is selected, we can press Ctrl L and link materials. Now, this one will now have that mat.006. So this means that if we change something on this one, like we preview it, it would update on this one, which is really handy. Alright, now I'm going to go and link up the rest of the materials that I can find. And I'll skip ahead until I'm done. Alrighty, now we have all the textures linked, and as you can see, they all fit. This is great. Now, occasionally you will find that you're missing textures. Most of the time, you're going to have to go in and re-rip the model, or you can use the texture option that I discussed before. However, there's very little you can do about that, but we're lucky enough to have all the textures intact for this one. Now, we're going to go back out and have a look at this reference image so that we can find out what our effects are supposed to look like. Oh. Well, there's what the gun's called. My bad. Alrighty, so there appears to be some kind of glow in here. along with sun flares. There appears to be rings circling it. There's rings circling it that way. These have rings inside them, look like small solar systems. Same over here and here and there. Do you remember that? That piece in the middle is that laser that I first discussed effects textures on. Alrighty. So let's have a look. Right, now, most of the time you think, oh, it's a 3D texture, it's like all cool and it's all there and stuff. Yeah, well, most of the time it's just an image on a plane. That's something people get very confused over sometimes, is it's literally just an image on a plane. So I bring this back here. I might just, for visual sake, set all of these to... Ooh, that's going to take a while. Why are these all RGB? Alrighty, time to go set all these back to normal color. And there we go. If you have a look, it now looks kind of good. Except the sun. I gotta work on that, but we're getting there. Pretty cool. Don't ask how the gun holds stuff together. It's just floating. Creative license, people. Creative license. We don't ask questions that we don't want the answers to. Righty, now we're going to go all this one effects one. Because you guess what we're going to do with it. We're going to have a transparent BSDF and an emission BSDF. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hold Shift right click, Control Shift right click and drag between these, which will open up the mix shader. Now, if you notice all these funny lines and stuff that I use to easily link up stuff, if you go up here into the add-ons and you search for Node, you will find one called Node Wrangler. You should always have this on. You should never ever turn this off. It's just going to make your life so much better. Alright, now we've got to do one more thing, and that's go down into the material properties. We've got to go scroll down, go to viewport display, and turn off this to blend. This will allow you to actually see through the piece, which is a bit funny. It's odd. I'm not entirely sure what's it's the and now if you look at it, you can actually see through it now. Amazing. If you have this turned off to opaque, nothing will happen. Another important thing to know, because what we're going to do now is we're going to hit here and we're going to use Node Wrangler to press Control T, which will open up an image texture and mapping. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to go back to that file where we have all our effects, and I'm going to look for FX. Great. Now, we're going to do the fire in the middle because why not? So we're going to use this fire one. We're going to open it up. It looks pretty cool. And as you can see, it's partly not there. Now, the other cool thing was we can plug this directly into the color, and lo and behold, you have fire. Now, usually fire isn't square, so we're going to do a little bit of funny to get it non-square. We're going to use a gradient texture. I have the right gradient. Gradient texture. Press Control T, which will open up the mapping, set it to object, and you'll have a look. This is now a gradient texture. Amazing. We're going to get a color amp on the front because we're going to use it later. We're going to set this from linear to spherical. Amazing. Sphere. I bet you can guess what we're going to do here. We're going to mix it with this. Not the color one. Color one can stay the same. Change this. Open it up. And if we have a look at it now, it's all funny with the white in the middle. And if you see, we can mix between the two. If we change this to multiply and change it all the way out, ooh, that looks good, right? And so if we have a look at this, it's now no longer a square. Amazing. Now, this one here is for personal preference. If you want, you can set it to B-spline, drag the black over. It'll be a much softer gradient. Be a little smaller, but I guess you can scale it up. Anyway, we're going to be doing a lot of that because that's going to break up all those horrible squares that we don't want. I'm going to get rid of this because I don't really want it on right now. And we can crank up the emission strength, and lo and behold, fire. Let's stick it in the middle. How easy is that? Now, it looks just like that. Slightly. And we've probably set this to not color as well. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Now, we probably could add a few more layers with all the other different kinds of textures, like that one and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to skip over that because this video is long enough. So we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to change it so it's on its own. We're going to call it FX2. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go A, and I'm going to copy everything. That way I'll have it for new things. Now, what we're going to do with this one is we don't actually need all of this for this one, because we're going to open up one of the rings. This one, orbit. Wait for it to load in. There we go. You'll see you don't need that because there's nothing out here. It's not square. Great, that's even better. I'll probably turn this down to about 2 so that we actually see the colors correctly. Oh, yeah, never mind, that looks horrible. And we can drag it in here. Ooh, that's where some funny things go on over here. So, if you want to make them, you can see it's off-centered. Select the sphere in the middle, cursor to select, Shift S and cursor to select, and select your orbit, and Shift S selection to cursor, and we'll lock it perfectly on top of it. Amazing. Now I'm going to hide this one, just so that I can put this together. Alrighty, maybe I can show back, yeah I can show back this one. Oh no I can't. I might actually, I think I can. I'll keep it like this because it thinks that's transparent. Now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it a few more times. That's the last one. And we're going to this orbit effects 2, copy the name for ease of use, paste it in here, change it to 1. Make this its own user. Make it 3. This one over here. Oops. And we're going to make it 4. Now, we're going to change all the textures out. I'm just going to stack these all up, and I'll get back to you once they're finished. Alrighty, got them all. Now what we're going to do is we're going to position them in a way that it makes it look like this. Now if we have a look at this image, there's one there, there's a few over here, there's a good few over there, there's that one with the hole in the middle, the eclipse is right there. There's also some in here. I wonder if that's its own texture. Probably is. I'll go have a look at back in Noesis. But for the meantime, we can just substitute the ones we've already got. Now, if we come back here and hide, we've got all these lovely textures. What we can do is, since these are white, we can just add in or remove that color from there, and we can just change the color to whatever we want. Like say we wanted that lovely orange, red color. Ooh. This one, orange. Great. Now we got them all. What we can do is we can select them all, and we can select version. Yeah, that's great. Oops. That's great. That works. Now we can start rotating. I don't particularly want all of these in the middle. So I'm going to scale one down, scale another down, scale this one down a little. That's wrong. That one out. I'm going to rotate it. Rotate that one. This one here, this strange ring with the dots. Scale that in. This ring out here. Make it look like that's a double ring, maybe. There we go. Lots of effects, all lined up. Now I'm going to grab a few of these. Just like that. Duplicate them, bring them out. Grab a few of the, don't need that one. Grab a few of the orbiting ones. Bring them all together. We're going to duplicate them, move them over into this slot, which we can select using that. We can duplicate them and bring them over here. Now, if we have a look, they're all that size. Bring them down, bring them in. Voila! Pretty good. Very good. Now, what we can do is we come back and we can select them again. We can duplicate them and we can bring them over to the cursor. We can rotate them a bit, scale them up, make it look like they're different. Amazing. Now, you'll notice if we have a look at the image, there's some that go sideways, like that. I assume you can figure out how to do that. It's quite self-sufficient. You rotate it. Amazing. There we go. Okay. There we go. Maybe that's what I had before. Lo and behold, we have ourselves. Don't worry about these artifacts, they should go away in the render. That's just viewport shenanigans. Now, having a closer look at that, I've noticed that this thing here actually should be over here. Great. So that's some of the effects done. Oh, there's supposed to be some up the front here too. This is what we're going to do for that. We're going to unselect that. Duplicate this, rotate it, add another one. Duplicating that one. Scale this one. And for one of these, you may want to bring them out so they're in front. Just helps sometimes doing stuff. Alrighty. So, laser. Right now, you can't see it. That's because there's nothing there. Amazing. Great. I bet you know what we're going to do now. We're going to add a plane. We're going to rotate it so that you can see it. We're going to go in, call it FX1, because I don't think there's an FX1 yet. And you guess what we're going to do with it? We're going to do this. Don't want that one though. Now, again, you're going to have to switch this, because that's what happens if you don't do it right. Do the blend mode to alpha blend. Good. Now, laser. You can see why we copied that off now, because now it's not square. If you didn't have this, yeah, no. So, as you can see, it's not long enough. Well, if you have a look at this, it's not exactly long enough. So we'll just scale it. Scale it down a little bit on this axis. It's causing issues. Yeah, it's causing issues with that background image. And look at that. We now have a laser with middle bear gun. Great. Alrighty. Now, the next stage of this is to go and record a video of the actual gun in the viewport, in the game, and from there you can animate it. You can do all the fun stuff, like this Switchblade X9 Neon Legend. You can go animate it like the Growl. It takes a while and a bit of getting used to, but in the end, it's worth it. It always is, because it makes it look really cool when it's animated. But yeah, I'm just gonna have a quick look to see what else there is. It glows. There's glows in the middle. Okay, that one is something we can make inside directly inside Blender. This one at the end is a bit sketchy. That's offset. Interesting. There we go. looks a little better. Probably should have done this to start with. Oh well, I am dumb. Great. Bloody. That's definitely something you can turn off. If you turn off the back face culling, or turn on back face culling. Show back face. There we go. If we do that to all of the other materials, right, now they're all on. Select all of these again. Just move them back inside. Now they do look, get rid of this. They do look slightly better. There we go. Great. Oh, that will just disappear, so to make which way? Oh no, that's because it's inside. I would suggest offsetting these. It does make it look just that little bit better. As you can see. Pretty cool. But yes, this all happens because COD is a mobile game and it needs to be ridiculously optimized. So it has to do the least resource intensive thing possible, and that would appear to be images on planes. And if you're not new to 3D, you should probably know this. It's quite a common occurrence to see images on planes in most 3D. There we go. That looks a little more depth to it. Oops. I probably should not have those laid directly on top. You want to try and avoid layering pieces directly on top of each other because they do cause issues, but that should be pretty good. There we go. And this is a little loud. I should probably turn on back face for this. There we go. If I turn off that. There we go. Hey, look at that. It's beautiful, and as you can see why I have that. That's now very abrupt, so I'm going to turn this on. And it won't be so in your face. There we go. Ooh, hot. Alrighty. That's mostly done. If you want, you can turn up the emission strength on some of these. Make them look shiny. It's starting to look spicy. Just makes them pop a little. Just be careful because you can see over here on the right hand side, left hand side, sorry, it's increasing on the ones in the middle because they're the same material. Right, time to fix the sun because suns usually aren't black. We're gonna have a look at the textures. So we've got the sun flares E, we've got the sun flares normal, and sun flares thing. Great. Now this is a great image, but I really don't like it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in a color ramp. So this often happens. You'll find emission maps that are like funny colors. I'll show you one right now. And you can use a color ramp like this to change the overall coloring of it. So you can see this one's that's in orange now. Make it red again. But since this has black, I don't want black, so I can bring it up and change it to a different color. Now, I probably will drag that down a little and change it to B-spline. B-spline makes it really nice and smooth. There we go. This should be a little more yellow. This should be a little more red. And if you have a look at this, I don't know about you, that looks, ooh, that's a little spicy. So if we have it just like that, that has a lot of contrast. This will take a lot of fiddling around to do, but you'll get there eventually. Another thing we can do is, since this is a texture, we can put it through the color amp to turn it black and white. And we can add it to the emission strength. Now what this will do is this will make it only bright in those sections and not. Now you can see it's not very bright, so we're going to add a math node. Math, basically really easy to understand, surprisingly. But what you can do is you can add a multiply. This will basically add as a value slider. Now I'm going to do mine to multiply add, which is basically just multiply node and an add node squished together. This basically means I'll be able to add in extra glow to the black areas as well. This way we keep our contrast with also having it being bright. There we go. Now, oh, that's a little, but where's the sphere? We'll have to click through it a few times. I would suggest naming your pieces after you've got them all here. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna call this what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it down a little bit because it's obviously a little too big. Or maybe that's not big enough. There we go. As you can see, this needs a glow, right? Well, I bet you can guess how we're going to do that too, since that's how we've done it for the last, I don't know how long. We're going to take one of these. We're going to add a new texture. We're going to call it glow. We're going to make sure that the blend mode is blend. We're going to add in all of this again. Move that. Got this again. Now, we don't actually care about that. We only care about this. As you can see, what does that look like? It looks like glow. Great. Well, what we can do is we can just plug this directly into come off the shader output, input it into the mix shader, change this to that. Now we have a, if we change it to 1, change this to a different color, and increase the strength. This will require a bit of fiddling. I'll just have to decrease the saturation. Oops, I should probably rotate it on the y-axis 45 degrees. That's better. Now, if we go out, this is glow. It looks like it's glowing. Amazing. Increase it. Increase the opacity, or whatever you want with it. Increase the saturation. Yeah, this needs more saturation. There we go. Now it's glowing. At least it looks like it's glowing. There we go. Now, if I notice the other one on the other one, we need it over here as well. So we can just duplicate it, scale it down. Move it in. If you want to, we're really picky, you could actually change the 3D cursor to be on here and then put it in. But I'm not picky, and I can do it by eye. So there we go. Gun. Gun now has effects. That's great. Now, I'm going to come back later and explain how to do the animation. Alright, it's later, and we're back to sacrifice our sanity to make the gun look good. Now, animation is the process of animating the parts so they move. It's very tedious, and you're probably inclined to stop here. Now, that's great, but if you want to go the extra mile, make your gun look good. This is how you do it. Now, remember, I said we needed to screen record it? Well, please tell me you screen recorded it, because we're going to need it. Now, what you want to do is you want to not do what I did and record the actual lucky draw, and you want to actually record this inside the arsenal, because it will stay stationary, which is incredibly useful, whereas in the lucky drop it will spin. Spinning is cool, you get to see all the angles, but stationary is better for animation. Now, that's good. Hope you got a good long video, because we're going to need it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to flick back between this and try to make this look like this, which is, the whole point. Great. Let's have a look and choose one small thing to do first. Alright, let's go with the easiest one. This sun bit rotates. It's rotating backwards. If we grab... I would suggest you hide all the effects planes, just for ease of use. Great. Now we've got one more. There we go. We've got this one. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You can apply the rotation by pressing Ctrl A and then choosing rotation. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to go item. Now this is going to be your friend during animation because you'll be able to animate the rotation. Amazing. Brilliant. I know. Great. Now, in Crash Course in Drivers, if you type in #frame, you can... I hate this. If you type in #frame, fun things will happen. Now, generally you go divided by, or slash. Now, I'm going to say probably about 60 for this one. This will rotate once every 60 frames. Or should. There we go. Oh, sorry, it will rotate 100 degrees every 60 frames. Now that's great, because if we have a look at this, that's what it looks like. It's rotating. Brilliant. Now, you'll probably notice those bits in the middle, they're rotating the other way. That means we got to do some fun stuff. These thick pieces. Great. Joy. Now, during the animation phase, your gun, which is now in multiple parts, will turn into even more parts as we use L, which is, oh no, selecting everything linked to it. We will select the entire P and press P to separate by the selection. And now we have two parts where we had one before. Now, that's great. But see, this thing's also rotating, but I want it to rotate the other way. So we can go -60, and now it will go backwards. Brilliant. I love it. Drivers are really fun. They're extremely useful because they'll never run out. This will go, you can go to 1,000, and it will just keep going. As you can see, I'm now at 12,000 frames, still going. It's great. Alternative to keyframing. You can do some really fun things with it, but I don't know that much about it. I use it to rotate things infinitely. But, by all means, go have a look. Pretty cool. Alright, next thing. Wait for it to come around. See, this is why you want the stationary target. Ah, here you go. I changed the arsenal. See, here you can see it's stationary. Don't make my mistake. And watch it before you do it. Alright, so we've got those. Now we've got these two rings in here rotating. Those are going to be easy. Sweet, these two. Now, you guess what we're going to do? We're going to hit L and go P by selection. Select these, A, and we're going to P by loose parts because they're each individual pieces. They'll separate themselves into two. Great. What we're going to do up here, we're going to go up here and we're going to, where's that one? That one looks cool. But that one looks better. So what we're going to do, we're going to go in here, we're going to go #frame again. We're going to go divided by, what did I do? 60. So I want to do 50 this time. Generally don't want to do the same number. It'll just help. Now, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go #frame divided by -40. Because we don't want it to be the exact same. And now, look, they're doing funny spin. If I get rid of these images. Cool. That looks really dope. Sweet. So easy, isn't it? Great. Now, each of these rings is rotating. along their local z-axis. Now that's going to be really easy. What we're going to do is we're going to unhide all of those. Let's don't crash. There we go. We're going to unhide all of those. We're going to load in here. We are going to grab all of these. We're going to move them up. We're going to go in. We're going to undo that. We're going to grab all of those. Move them up. I should be able to move them directly back on top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and select, and we only want the rings. So I've got to attempt to find this last ring. Now we've separated all the rings out and moved all the effects back. We can go Control A, apply rotation. This will allow us to rotate all on the exact same axis. I'm going to turn that off. Now what you want to do is you want to go up to the yellow one here, the object properties. You want to set this to Z, Y, X. And you want to hold Alt while you do it. Now what this will do is it will allow every other... Holding Alt will mean it will copy that action to every other object selected. Pretty good. So now if we rotate along the Z-axis, it's going to rotate all of them instead of just one. Alright, now we've changed that mode over. And got a handle of Alt. We are going to I, keyframe. This will allow us to put a keyframe here, which will animate, which is the alternate version of animating. Now we're going to go all the way to the end. We're going to rotate along the Z-axis a few times. We're going to go I, R. Pretty cool. Now that they rotate. Probably a little faster. Let's say that many. 2 turns. Let's make it that much. Trial and error. There we go. Alright, now we've got all our pieces rotating. What we want to do is we're going to go back down here. We're going to select the sun in the middle. We're going to go Shift S, cursor to selected. Grab these, Shift S, selection to cursor. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the animation. Now, go up here, change this to the draft editor. First, most important thing to do. Second, grab all of these rings. And what you want to do is you want to press A and the delete / full stop button and the bottom right of your number pad. If you don't have this button, good luck. And you'll see this is going. Now that's great, but this one here, what are these? They're nothing. They're the X and Y axis, which we aren't animating on. And what you want to do is you want to press Control plus after you select that and press delete. This will allow us to rotate our rings again, and they'll keep rotating, whereas if we were before, they would snap back because they have a keyframe to that particular rotation. Now what you want to do is you want to go through again, and you want to position all of your rings. Alright, now we've got them all back, we can press play, and lo and behold, they all do fun stuff. Great! I told you it was easy. The only issue is these will now rotate at the exact same thing. You can adjust this by grabbing this end one and moving it up or down. I'd suggest down. Oh, maybe not that far down. You'll see, they'll now rotate faster. Yay! Animation! I love it. Hard work, but it's always rewarding. Sweet! Now, back to the reference. Now, you can see I'm at the end. I'm going to switch back a bit. Great. What else? There's this strange ball rotating around on one of the things. Pretty cool. Don't know where that went. Honestly, I don't really want it. I'll add it later if I want it. Sometimes you can pick and choose. That's the fun of animating. Great. Now, next thing. This thing is rotating. Great. Easy. This one's rotation. This gun and skin is mostly rotation. That's pretty good. I've had some ones with some really, really painful animation that you do not want to, like the Odin Divine Smite. Yeah, not worth it. Don't worth it. No. Just trust me. Just download the one I have. I promise you. And don't even get me started on the AS Val Double Edge. That was a nightmare. My favorite mythic gun skin, absolute nightmare, bro. Absolute nightmare. But most of the time, it's just rotation or up and down movement. Pretty simple. Nice. Sweet. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to keyframe that rotation. Or probably you're going to use a driver. Sweet. Let's get back. Go to the layout. Switch into here. This one. Now, you'll notice that's all in one piece. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to separate it. Oh, we always separate it. Now, I'm going to turn off the empty because I don't want it. I don't want to play with you anymore. Now, let's have a look at what is actually rotating here. So it's just that central piece and the one off to the side. So if we press the slash key, which will single out this particular one, we're going to select both of these and this funny thing here. I'm assuming that one as well. If we have a look down here, yeah, it's those two. Oh, there's actually a gap. There's supposed to be a gap. Oh, well, we'll make a gap. I'm going to separate it by selection. Go in here. Test is selected. Make sure an orthographic. We're going to go into edit mode. We're going to change the 3D pivot point to the 3D cursor. This is done by holding down the full stop button. We're going to grab both of these and we're going to rotate. Amazing. Remember, full stop, medium point. Great. Now while we're at it, we're going to separate by selection. Now, if I'm going a bit fast, I'm sorry, but I assume you know how to use the program. I'll keep all the shortcuts that I know, and hopefully you'll know it as well. Now we're going to join these back up because they have the separate. Sweet. Now, I'm pretty sure if we press slash again, we can look out which way do these go. They go anti-clockwise. So, that's that way. So as you can see in the top right, I nearly pointed, at the transform tab, it's rotating along the x-axis and it's going down. So what we want to do is we want to go in here, we're going to hashtag frame divided by minus 30. Sweet. I don't know about you, but that's pretty good. Now I'm going to grab the rest of these. I'm going to go in here, hashtag frame divided by 50. It's positive. And now, they're rotating. Just like over here. Oops, those ones aren't supposed to rotate. My bad. Alright, if you want to get rid of the driver, right click, delete driver. Now you can just set this back to 0. And lo and behold, there it goes. This offset is annoying me. There we go. Alright, that's another piece done. I know I'm probably rambling on, but that's pretty much how animation works. You ramble on, and you try to not screw up as you do it. Sweet. Same thing back here. Gonna hide this one. Gonna single this one. Gonna pause. What pieces are rotating? The outer ring is rotating, and the inner one is rotating. So these two here are going to be rotating probably. And this one here is probably going to be stationary. Sweet. Now, if we look at it from the side again, remember they were going this way. Now, if you have a look in the top right, that's also going down. So, we're going to go hashtag frame divided by minus 40. Pretty good. Now, this one, going the other way. You guessed it, frame divided by 30. Sweet! Amazing. It's also offset, but I can't be bothered to fix it right now. Now, what else is animated? This thing here is spinning. Sweet. That should be easy. Should. Famous last words. Thankfully, all you can do is we can go L. We can go cursor selected. We can go P by selection. And you can go right click, set origin to 3D cursor. Now, I've set a shortcut for mine, which is how I did it before. Now, this rotates, great. you guessed it, hashtag frame divided by minus 50. Okay. Remember, we've got to apply rotation. Otherwise it doesn't work. Go hashtag frame divided by minus 50. Wrong way. This is why you always check. Okay, it's the y-axis. Hashtag frame divided by minus 50. Now, I would love to skip over all of this, but in truth, amongst all my random chit-chat, you can actually pick up something, which is, honestly, it's how you do it. There's no definite, there's no set of rules. You just have to make it up as you go along. Sweet. Now, the sun in the middle. I probably should have done this at the start. It's randomly spinning. Great. That actually looks like it's spinning along a skewed z-axis. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab the sun and rotate it along. Ooh, no. Alright, so it has solid thing. So we're going to select both of these by clicking in one and dragging down. We're going to go frame divided by 30. And now it does funny spin. Sweet! That's one done. See, look at that. How much better does that look already? I unhide the effects. I don't know about you, but that looks pretty good to me. Just realizing how long this video is going to be. Alright. The little rings spin. If they didn't flick on and off every few seconds. Sadly, I haven't found a way to pause it through the combos. Now, you'll notice that just turned on. There's a new effect that got brighter as the combo changes. That just appeared. That moved. That's now got an extra spinny thing. Now, honestly, you're just going to have to pick one. Like, or you can combine them. Whichever one looks the best. Generally, I do the 8 times combo because it looks the coolest. But, some cases, like the QQ9, this other ones look cool. In which case, you just mix and match, and you change all the colors to fit. Which I'll explain later. Famous last words. I'll explain it later. He never explains it later. Anyway, let's do the rings. I'll do those because that's fast, because they're the exact same as the ones in the middle. Alright, now you've noticed me keyframe. Now they're all rotating at the exact same speed. Now it might be a little hard to see because you can't really see it well, but they're all rotating at the exact same speed. Now I've opened up my animation. If I grab one of these keyframes and drag it up, drag the other down, drag the other one down so far, going backwards. Guess what? That one's now going backwards. That's pretty cool, right? So this one just decides it's not. Oh, okay, that might be the central piece. Then I'm going to grab this one, drag it down here, drag it up that one, down there. Oh, there you go. See? Now it's going backwards. That's how you refine the rotation on these. Alright, I've done all the rings. Let's have a look. Anything else? Now, often, you're nearing the end, you just need to stare at it, or wait till you see something move that wasn't moving before. In this case, I've done most of it, since I'm not adding in those little rotating rings, or that sphere. I'm done. Now I'm done, but I'm also not done, because one of my main asked questions is, how do you do these little things here? It's like particles coming out. There's stuff falling off it. Once it gets to 8 times combo, there's literal sun dots falling off it. Well, through the power of Blender, we can use particle systems and animated texture coordinates. Oops. This is done half in the shading tab. We're going to do it, you guessed it, with a plane. What we're going to do, we're going to grab ourselves a plane and rotate it on the x-axis. Now, if you're observant, you'll have noticed we've had about 4-5 passes. We've had the ripping and extracting models from Noesis with the textures. We've imported them, we've set them up, we've textured it, we've done all the effects, and we've animated it. And now comes the special effects. Now these are the animated textures, the particle systems, the if it physically moves, stuff like that. I'm sure you've seen the Growls inspect. Animation like that. That one right there. Right, we're going to add this plane. We're going to scale it up. We're going to press slash so we can view it only. We're going to add another one. This one's going to be Ani FX because it's going to be an animated effect. Now we're going to hold insert, Control T, open up, and we're going to find in our file, we're going to pray for a fire texture because that's what we need right now. Great. Now, on its own, looks kind of boring. Also, to be honest with you, like, you don't need the principled, you need a transparent and a emission, mix them. We did this when we did the rings, same process. Stick in the color into the factor and the color into the emission because this is a colored texture. Now, don't forget, go down here, set this to blend. That way we can see through it. Pretty cool. For some reason, not seeing through it. Right. In that case, we need to add in a color ramp, which will convert it to black and white, which is more understandable for the program. Okay, what's wrong? These are incorrect swap. There we go. Now, if I have a look at this, I know what's wrong. It's not set to not color. Amazing. Ironically, this fire texture, now I look at it, color it blue, it's in the Rytech Mythic. Okay, just gonna mix that out a little bit. Great. Fire texture. Increase the emission. Oh, geez. Emission. Bingo! We're back in business. Now, if you have a look at this thing here, if you probably zoom in, but you'll see it's like expanding outwards. Now, that might look like it's going out all at the same time. I bet you it's not. What we're going to do, it's going to go down here. Now, this mapping thing, very important for animating textures. You can animate them along the axis. Amazing speedy textures. Great, we're going down. So we're going to go, and you guess what we're going to do. We're going to go hashtag frame divided by 30. Too fast. The higher the number, slower it goes, because you're dividing it by that many frames. So let's go 70. There we go, that looks good. Now, that on its own, boring. Cringe. It's also flat, square. You remember how we fixed that before, right? Gradient. Oops. Gradient texture. Now, in this case, what we're going to want to do is we're going to elongate it along the y-axis because we want to do that. We're actually going to move it along the y-axis location too, so it forms this sort of half moon shape. This will allow it to come out perfectly bright and then fade off towards the edges in the bottom, which is really good. What we're going to do is we're going to hold Control Shift right click and drag, mix it with the color ramp, and set this to multiply. In case you're interested, and you've got to set it all the way out. What multiply does, it will take this image, and it will superimpose the black, and it will basically add the black together. So the black from this image and the black from this image. So all the black along the edges, it will color all of the black on this image. Where it's black on this image, it'll color it black. So it'll fade out on the edges. Color blend, really funny things, cool to know about, really fun. Suggest you learn it. Great. That looks a little better. It looks like this. Fades off at the edge. Like it should. Increase the strength a bit, probably. I probably want to... If you have using B-spline, you always want to add another black stop, because when you don't, this is like not black, completely zero. It's like 0.0001. So it's not completely zero, so you've always got to add another black stop. So now, if you have a look, there it goes. Perfect. Great. Now, about that sort of pushing out motion. Well, that's the thing. Well, we don't need that. Because what we're going to do is we're going to select this one that we were just using. Here. We're going to call it Fire FX. And if we go select it, what we're going to do, we're going to move it down, we'll scale it in, and we're going to rotate it. Great. Now it's going out that way. That's what we're going to do. We're going to duplicate it, and we're going to rotate it and move it over here. And now it looks like, oops, it looks like they're going outwards. Isn't that amazing? It's so simple, but it just looks better. If we have a look back here, we can probably move them up. Yeah, look at that. Just that little extra touch adds in that effect. And I can tell this is actually an animated texture they're using. They aren't using just a still one, but we don't have access to that because we're plebs and we don't have it. So, if you're interested, there's often you'll come across textures in Noesis that are a whole sequence of images on a same sheet. It's called a flipbook. That's what these are. They're supposed to be animated. But, sadly, I have yet to learn how to use them in a Blender. So, we're going to make do with our still images. Great, now we've got that. What about these particles? They're literally falling off the gun. Great. That's the easiest, probably the easiest thing in animation. As you can see, it's going absolutely ballistic because we have so many effects. We're going to add in a cube. Great. Cube. Square. Square boy. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to scale it up so it's inside the gun. Now, sure, this looks cringe. Horrible. It's blocky. Why? Well, if we go in here to this text that has like 3 prongs with the circles, we're going to click plus, and we've added a new particle system. When you press play, it's falling. It's doing exactly what we want. It's just white. Now, horrible and white, I know. Well, it's horrible and square, but you can see it better here. If you go down to the viewport display, you can just turn it off. It's great. Now, you need to do this in the render too, otherwise it will show up in the render. Now, we're kind of rendering as halos, so horrible, white, but it's good because it renders nice and fast. Sweet. What we want to do next is we want to scroll all the way down to field weights. This is where all the force fields take effect. Gravity, no gravity. Actually, thinking about it, we probably want like a small section of gravity. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up here. Now we're going to go to source. This is under the emission tab, by the way. If this is closed, you got to unroll it. Emit from volume. Now this will emit from inside the cube as opposed to all the faces or the vertices. Pretty cool, right? Now, velocity. Currently, it's getting spat out along the normals. If you don't know what the normals are, please go look them up. They're very, very important to 3D. But anyway, this is ejecting the particles at 1 meter a second along the normals. Now we don't want that. We want it probably a little here, and we want it to random up. Great. That looks like it did before. What we're going to do is we're going to go Shift A, and we're going to add something called a force field. We're going to go for turbulence. Just down the bottom. Now, looks kind of boring. It's like a axis. Well, if we go down here, you can do something. You can turn it up, and you will slowly see the effect. The fact that these are now moving funny. Instead of if you have a look at them, they're just falling boringly. They're now like have random movement. And if we turn up this flow, that's better. You'll see. Now, what you want to do is you want to make the size really small. Generally, about 0.1 will work. Most instances. Now, these are disappearing too fast. Go up here, back to the particle settings, and increase the lifetime. Drag it up until you're satisfied. If you have a look at the video, particles fall to about a little bit past the bottom of the gun. If we have a look at ours, they fall to a little bit past the bottom of the gun. Now I probably want it, you want it just a little bit longer than what you actually want. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the particle. We're going to Shift A, Mesh, add a circle. Before we click anything else, we're going to open up this, change it to N-gon. Now we're going to move it over here, rotate it along the x-axis, 90 degrees. Shading. We've got those shaders again. We're going to go back over here. This is going to be really easy. We're going to do our lovely transparent and emission. Mix it. Now, instead of using funny textures this time, we're just going to use the gradient with a circular or spherical. Use the object coordinates. The object coordinate will basically plant the center of the sphere on the origin of the object, which is really useful. What you're going to do, we're going to set it to quadratic sphere, which will give this nice fall off. Now this is really cool. Using this effect with the particles, you can create some really cool looking particles. Trust me, they look good, especially in forest scenes. But we're not doing that right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and set this to blend, because otherwise we're not going to see it through. Great, pretty cool. Now what you're going to do is go out the emission. It's orangey, sort of desaturated orange. Cool. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go select the color ramp, because I want to color different parts. I don't want it to be a flat color. I'm going to go Control-Shift-D, which will keep the place it used to be. What we're going to do up here is going to set this to B-spline. We're going to drag in this one. Okay. Also to note, if you're going to use the B-spline, you can't use quadratic sphere because it makes funny. So that means we've got to go over here. We're going to change this to B-spline as well. B-spline. And add in that extra one so that we get perfect 0. Sweet. Now what we're going to do with this one is we're going to expand it out a little bit. And we are going to set this one to ease, sorry. What we're going to do is we're going to make this white again. Now that's boring, right? No, because what we can do is we can set this to a perfectly light color. It doesn't have to be dark, because this transparency will actually make it dark. So if we go have a look, plug this color into the emission color and use the shader. See, look, it's like, when I turn down the saturation, you see it's like actually different. And it doesn't really matter about that change of strength, because it's like that. Also, I would suggest not increasing the strength. It just doesn't work. Great. Now, this is boring. One little particle. Great. What we're going to do, we're going to go here, back to the, you can also click on the particles, select this particle system. We're going to go from here, make sure that we can see our particle. We're going to go from halo to object. We're going to go click on the eyedropper and click on that object. Yeah, that's great. Lots of little circles. Interesting. I bet you can see where this is going. We're going to use the object rotation, which is why we rotated it 90 degrees. So now they're falling this way. And we're going to go scale randomness. Amazing. Look at it go. It's coming together. We're nearly there. I know you've been watching this for way too long now. Hopefully you've got up, got a break, went outside, touched some grass, like you probably should. I probably should, but I'm going to be stuck here editing this for the next 4 years. But one last piece of de resistance, which I definitely butchered. We're going to go down here. Textures. This is in the particle settings for the particle system. We're going to go new and click on the little slider icon, which will take us down to the textures tab. Now we're going to change this from image and movie to blend. Now, I'm assuming, I think I covered this before somewhere, but in case I didn't, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the colors. We're going to enable the color ramp. We're going to flip it using the little arrow. We're going to go from generated to strand and influence from general time to size. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drag the white side all the way over to here. Now if we watch our particles, what this does is it superimposes this texture, which is just a gradient texture, over the particles. Now the mapping is the lifetime of the particle. What it's affecting is the size. So basically, over the course of the particle's lifetime, which is going this way, it's going to go from a light value, a value of 1, to a value of 0. And if you watch this, what this does, because we've set this to size, is it will make the particles scale down once they reach the end of their lifetime. That's really cool. I was so amazed when I saw that. It was pretty cool. Oh, that's a little too much. Now, as you can see, way too many particles. Change the number to something like 200. Now, this is why I said extend the lifetime a little past what you wanted to. That way you can just do that. Now, what I want to do, this isn't bright enough for me. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to turn up this. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to fiddle with this until I get a satisfactory brightness. Pretty good. Now, let's play this. Have a look at it. Also, if you want the particles to start at frame 0, because right now they're starting to be emitted, then they have to fall down. Well, if you set the frame start to something negative, like -50, it will actually have started by the time the thing starts. So if you watch when it ticks over again and goes back, they'll have already fell a little way. What you want to do, you don't want to go back too far, but you want to go back enough that they've already finished falling. Like this. That way, once it loops back over, they'll already be there. That's great. Guess what? I think we're done. We're gonna have one last look at this. Our COD mobile uses sRGB, which is a color space that enhances vibrant colors. I'm currently using AGX. I could use Aces, I think. Not here. But AGX. AGX allows for a more smooth gradient between colors, whereas sRGB, when it's a color and you're using an emission and you crank up the emission so that it starts getting really bright, it'll stay that boring color, flat color, whereas AGX will be nice and smooth and smooth it out. But I have a good feeling that we are done. If you got this far, good on you. I didn't. This is recorded over a period of about a month. So, you did way better than me. Good on you. Now, honestly, there'll be new guns. They'll have different things. They'll change. They'll be different. There'll be things in there that you have to animate that I haven't covered. Well, there's one way to solve that. It's easy. Well, easy to say it, but hard to do it. And that's learn Blender. Once you learn Blender, all of this, you'll just go, oh, I know how to do that. Alrighty. Well, I think we're done. What we're going to do now is change to cycles, GPU if you have one. Pray you do. Set the samples all the way up on the viewport and make the noise threshold 0. Click denoise and set the start sample to 10. Also, you want automatic. It's just better. I don't know why. Go into the world properties. Make sure that this strength is set to 0. Okay, I'm going to load in HDR manually. Go up here to the shading tab again, and from object, we're going to change it to world. Now we're going to press A and dot to zero in. Control T. This will open up an environment texture. Great. Now, I have environment textures. They're called HDRIs. You're going to need to find one. Best bet, Polyhaven. I'll link it in the description. Great, lots of free, all the way up to like 16K or something. But what a HDR is a 360 degree image. Now, that sounds strange, but basically what it is we can wrap around our entire scene an image that will shed light, realistic light, onto our scene without having to set up lights and cameras and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to load in the studio. I'm going to set the strength to 1 so that we can see it. I'm going to save, because if you don't, sometimes Cycles crashes. Hold Z, drag up, rendered. As you can see, 360 degree image. Free lighting. Now, if you want to go and render this with this interesting lighting, but you don't want to see this strange curtains in the background, if you go back up here, what you can do is you can move this back. We're going to duplicate the background. We're going to set it to 0. We're going to mix it. I'm going to switch this so that you can see it happen. We're going to add in a node called light path. Now what this will do, really the only one you're ever going to use is camera ray. Some of the others can be used in refraction and other funny stuff, but the only one that you really ever need is camera ray. So this is basically what this says is, if you're looking at it, yes. If you're not looking at it, no. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that, put it in here. So basically what's going to happen is, if we can see something, we're going to get this one. If we can't see it, we're going to get this one. So what this will do is this will allow us to have all those reflections. As you can see, we're currently, the cameras, the reflections are seeing this version, but we're seeing this version because we've got it set to is camera ray, but not is reflection. So, if we switch this over and preview it again, you'll see we've got all those reflections, the lovely lights, but we don't have that strange pixelated background. I use this a whole lot. It's very fun. And I don't know about you, but I think this one turned out pretty good. Looks pretty cool. I'll stick it up on the Discord. You can enjoy it. Alright. This is probably the only gun tutorial I'm ever going to do. So, enjoy it while it lasts. I'm probably going to end up doing geonodes sometime soon. I've been planning to do that actually before I started this, but I just couldn't think of anything to make. But I'm probably going to do a text animation because people like that. And it's cool. So anyway, I'll see you later, I guess. Bye, have a great time.